Well, hi everyone. Welcome back. It's me again. I'm Amanda Ventura-Zink. I'm a public affairs manager at Waymo. In addition to my earlier remarks, I now have the very distinct honor of introducing today's keynote speaker, activist, producer, and advocate RJ Mitte. Heads up that immediately after his presentation, UCP Communications Coordinator James Garcia will conduct a brief interview with RJ and then take questions from the audience. So let's get started. RJ Mitte is best known for his portrayal of Walter Flynn White Jr., a role played for 5 riveting seasons of AMC's Emmy and Golden Globe award-winning dramatic thriller Breaking Bad. RJ is an actor, producer, advocate, and philanthropist who has carved out his niche in Hollywood by breaking down stereotypes and changing people's mindsets with his easygoing demeanor and positive, forward-looking outlook. As Walt White Jr., who fans affectionately called the Breakfast King, RJ portrayed the son of Walter White Sr., portrayed by Bryan Cranston, and Skyler White, portrayed by Anna Gunn. And like RJ, Walter White Jr. had cerebral palsy, though his condition was presented as more advanced in the show. RJ will be seen next in a film called Triumph, starring alongside Oscar-nominated actor Terrance Howard. And RJ plays a high school wrestler overcoming all odds to make his dream of excelling on the high school wrestling team real. Ahead of the COVID-19 lockdown, RJ was in the middle of filming Isaac, a thriller starring opposite Disney star Dove Cameron. RJ is also head of his family's legacy project, the Mitte Foundation, which is aimed at revitalizing South Texas, the place he calls home. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome RJ Mitte.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you all so much for being here today and hearing some amazing knowledge and data that UCP and many other organizations have collected over the years through tireless efforts and belief in we can achieve anything. We can achieve whatever we want to do in our lives, no matter what we are faced with in our future. And I'm very lucky to have had many people who believed in me and supported me over the years that provided me tools and resources to grow like UCP does for so many individuals. I will tell you a little more about myself, and then we have a Q&A portion. So if you have any questions or want to have anything that sticks out, feel free to type it into the list below. But going back to when I first was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, I was diagnosed at age 2. For the first 2 years of my life, my mom and my family knew there was something not quite right. How I walked, how I tried to talk, how I tried to move and carry things with my hands. For me, it primarily affects my left side. Again, I'm sure we all know the CP norms of fine gross motor skills, hand-eye coordination, speech, dexterity, and so for me, it really affected my hands and my legs. At the time, they would call what they called me was a severe toe walker. So my feet bent down instead of up, and so my parents were taking me across the country, trying to get information on why was their baby walking this way or carrying things this way, and looking for answers. And for a while, for the first year of my life, there were no answers. And luckily, my grandmother ran into a gentleman who worked for a facility that handled kids with special needs and handled kids with cerebral palsy and many other types of injuries and illnesses. And he looked at me. My grandmother every year would go to a car dealership and trade in her car. And he worked there, and he looked at me and looked at my grandmother and said, "Did your grandson have cerebral palsy?" And for years, doctors and professionals told my family, "We know he has something, but we don't know what." And that's what you want your doctors to tell you, right? So this gentleman looked at me and looked at her and said, I think your grandson has cerebral palsy. And at that point, we went to hundreds of doctors across the country. And what was one more going to hurt? And he sent me up north to Shreveport, Louisiana, to a hospital there. And they, within the first hour, they were able to diagnose me and started my treatment. And that involved physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and leg immobilizers and casting sessions. So from about 2 to 12, I was in cast for 6 months out of the year. And when I wasn't in cast, I was in AFOs and SMAFOs, braces on my legs. And, you know, having something like that, a lot of times children, when you're younger, think you're weak. And, for me, I always was told that what I have is an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn something about myself that's different and new, and to push myself even further. So, again, I was always doing my therapies and always pushing myself forward and getting out there and doing what I wanted to do to live my life. And luckily, I had a family and friends that were very supportive of me and willing to help when I needed help and to not help when I thought I needed help. And so I grew up with a mentality of can't is a decision. You know, having children with special needs, having a disability in my own right, I was told a lot of times can't. You can't do this, you can't do that, you won't ever walk properly, you won't ever talk properly, you won't ever have a normal life. And I learned that was not factual. That was inaccurate. We all have a normal life. Our normality may look different than to others, but what we have is something that is so incredibly common, so um something that more people have but don't realize. We all face challenges in our daily lives. We all try to overcome adversities, be it physical, mental, or situational. And so I learned that I am no different than anyone else, trying to live, trying to grow, and trying to evolve. And over the years, I tried to remind people that we all want the same thing, and that's just an opportunity to live our lives, to be able to push forward and to learn and to grow. And that disability and disabilities are not a disability, they are knowledge. They are something that we can learn from on such a higher level that we are also afraid of. And sometimes our greatest fears are something that we have to look into more deeply when it comes to the human condition. And more often than not, people again look at disabilities as an illness, as a weakness. But we all know that we need to embrace these aspects of who we are and where we go and learn and grow because that will help future generations. When I was around 12 years old, I got the opportunity to go to California. My sister was at a water park in Houston, Texas, and an agent saw her there. And she looked at her and was like, "Oh my God, we'd love to use her for a Lucille Ball campaign." And at that time, we weren't really sure what to go. My mom was also partially paralyzed from a car accident at the time, right after my sister was born. So we were already, I was in physical therapy as well as my mother at the time. And so we would do a joint effort of that. But we hadn't gone anywhere in years. And this agent saw her and brought us to California. And that's when I got the opportunity to talk to people like you, to talk to organizations and entities around the world, to bring awareness to cerebral palsy and other things that we face in our lives. And I was in California for couple of years and then I got this opportunity of a lifetime called Breaking Bad. And when I got the breakdown, I read it was me. It said dark hair, big eyebrows, and mild cerebral palsy. And I'm like, I got that covered. And so I went in and I auditioned. And apparently they liked me because they hired me. And it changed my life, you know? And so many times I hear people that they never saw representation like my character until they saw Breaking Bad. And it took me a while to realize how important that is. Because when you're in it, you're in it. No worry. I'll wait till she sets up. um, and you know, when you're in it, you're in it. You don't always see the forest through the trees. And so I realized that I had a platform and I had an opportunity to help organizations and provide resources to individuals that may have not seen them before. And so after Breaking Bad, I've been an advocate for many organizations around the world. And it's so important to get out there and to show what people with cerebral palsy, what people with any of these types of quote unquote disabilities that we place out there can truly do and are truly capable of. So many times people will say that it's hard to hire individuals with disabilities, but that's wrong. It's the easiest thing ever because they want a job, they want to work, and they want the opportunities that everyone else has. And so I work on that as well to work with organizations around the world that focus on creating job training programs, providing opportunities for individuals with disabilities. And truly what I'm here to tell y'all today is thank you. Thank you all for the impact that y'all have in this world, for what you do and being aware, creating the research, bringing the data together and presenting it in an intelligent and articulate way to educate people that may have not understood what cerebral palsy is or any of these other disabilities that we face on a daily basis, and to help make this world more inclusive and more understanding that this isn't just some disability, but this is a way of life. This is a way of growth, and this is knowledge for our future. And I really am a firm believer that we don't need to erase disability, but we need to understand it to understand what we are and to what we can do and for what we can do. Um, again, thank you, UCP. Thank you for all the participants today, because you are game changers. You are lifesavers. You are educators and people who put yourselves out there in this industry, in this world to help others, not just yourselves, but hundreds of thousands of others around the world. And so you make that difference. Never forget that. I know it's hard when you live it every day, but remember you make a difference. You change this world for the better. You change it to provide individuals like me and millions other like me to grow and to live a life and to have a family, and giving those tools and resources do that. And so thank you all. Um, Again, there's a Q&A portion of this conversation in about 5 minutes. Um, you know, individuals with disabilities are 3 times as likely to be bullied with someone without a disability. You know, bullying is something that we're in a pandemic of our own right now. And so if there is a child that you're working with, or if your child um, is becoming less confident, talk to them, have a conversation with them, find out what's going on in their school or their programs, and have them not be afraid to open up to you. There's a lot of people in this world that are losing their lives and are retreating back into themselves versus opening up to their friends and family. So please don't hesitate to reach out. It may be uncomfortable to have those conversations with your child or your patient, but it's truly important right now more than ever to have these conversations with your your peers, your friends, your children. It's definitely a needed thing right now in our society to be open and to have those conversations. But again, thank you all. You really do make a difference, and it's such an honor to be a part of UCP family. I was just in um, Palm Springs like 2 days ago working with UCPIE, and then a couple weeks before that I was working with United Cerebral Palsy of Central Florida. And people believe in this organization. People want this organization to succeed because it changes lives. And again, you are all a part of that. And so thank you. If there's any questions you would like for me to answer about cerebral palsy or the acting industry or whatever it may be, feel free to put them in the Q&A portion. And thank you all.
Thank you so much, RJ. Thank you so much. Loved it. Loved the comments. Loved the thoughts. Let's do this. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A, but let me just start with if you could just kind of give us an update of Triumph that was mentioned early on. This is the film, of course, in which you are a high school wrestler. If you could just talk about where the film is right now. Just the audience, I think, and your fans out there just have heard about it for a while and they're just wondering, when are we going to get this?
I am too. I am too.
Whatever you can tell
now,
us.
Triumph, we're working on an agreement with Terrance Howard. He came back and was causing some issues, but we released the film and we had to pull it off the market for a time being. We plan on releasing it hopefully by the end of this year again, and just getting it out there. I've been working on this project for 7 years. And I've was able to pull a whole new team together to try to save the project, and I did so. And we were so lucky that UCP supported the project as well and believes in this project. And so, what I love about Triumph and what made me want to continue and not just bury this project was the individual named Michael Coffey, which Triumph is about. Triumph is
and he is the screenwriter. Is that correct? He's
a screenwriter, yes. But he is the character of Mike. He has cerebral palsy, and in the 80s, individuals with disabilities weren't really a what's the word I'm looking for? They weren't really accepted. They got sent to homes, they got sent to camps, they got given up, or worse. And so, there's been a lot. If you look at the history and growth of disability in the community, and where it was then to where it is now, we have leaps and bounds ahead of the past. And he lived in a time where people really didn't accept him. And people didn't really want to be his friend. And, this is a story of how he overcame that and how he grew past that. And so it's really important to me to get this message out. It will be out in the near future. I'm hoping by September, November, to have a re-release of this film. And really get it out in the public, because everyone that's seen this film loves this film. They believe in this film. And what's awesome is people want this film. We always are having like fights of owning this film. Everyone wants to own this film, and that's amazing to see, because that means people want it.
Yeah. Now the film, you do hope when it comes out, will have a theater release as well as live.
So technically, we already had our theater release.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we will get re-released into theaters.
Okay.
And then we will have a global distribution release. We already have everything ready to go and signed. We're just waiting on some final paperwork from one individual. but we already have a global release. It will be on all distribution platforms, and then hopefully again we will have a re-release in theaters.
Okay.
Actually, not many people realize this, but it was actually nominated for a Oscar this past year. So that was pretty awesome to see. The Academy really wanted this film to grow, and still believes in it quite a bit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Let's segue, if we can, really quickly into your experience now in Hollywood. You just mentioned that in the 80s, of course, and certainly before that, people with disabilities were not accepted. They were shunned. They were put away. It happens just a couple of weeks ago was the 50th anniversary of the closing, I think, of the Willowbrook Foundation, which was a horrific institution in New York that housed thousands of people and treated them, frankly, as if they were in concentration camps. So things have changed substantially.
Well, guinea pigs.
Yeah. But how are things now for an actor like yourself, someone with a disability, making their way in the business? Is it opening up?
100% it's opened up. Diversification in the arts and media is one of the largest markets in the industry right now. It takes up probably 80% of the market when it comes to diversification. Now, when I say that, that's not all people with disabilities, but I have seen a massive interest in individuals with disabilities. I've seen a massive growth in authenticity in the arts and media, of raising awareness and providing opportunities. I shot a movie with Joey Travolta, who has Inclusion Films in California, and we shot a whole movie with a 70% disabled cast and crew. And there were so many people that told us that that's not possible. You can't do that. You're not going to make your days. You're not going to get your shots. And we shot a full feature in 14 days.
Wow.
And so we proved that statistic wrong. And I've seen a positive growth. I've seen a positive change. Now, is the entertainment industry an easy industry to get into? No. It is probably one of the hardest industries to actually maintain a career in, just because it takes time, it takes effort. You have to control a brand. You have to put yourself out there in different categories. And so when it comes to providing opportunities for individuals, or even myself, it's not easy. It's not an easy work environment. But that's not just for people with disabilities. That's across the board. It's a very stigmatic industry. You're fitting a character. So that in itself is challenging to find that right role, be it able-bodied or not, let alone a wheelchair user or any other types of individuals, because you're trying to fit into a mold that they're trying to make. And so has that mold opened up more? Yes. Do we still have a way to go? Yes.
Do you find yourself, for lack of a better term, educating screenwriters or producers and basically saying to them sometimes, hey, this role that you created, it could be a person with a disability. It doesn't have to be someone without.
I'm part of a group called IMPWD. We're a campaign that focuses on raising awareness to writers, screenwriters, producers on, okay, you have this role, let's switch it to this. Why couldn't that person be a wheelchair user? Why couldn't that person be hard of hearing or blind or whatever it may be? Like, why does this role have to be solely this 18 to 25 Adonis?
Yeah.
Right? Why does it have to be that? And if there is a specific reason on why casting that type of person, but could we provide more in depth and educating people in the industry about individuals with disabilities in a way where it enhances the character? That character having this type of disability only amplifies his motivation. And so A few years ago, there was a statistic that the disability community was a $2.5 billion untapped market in the industry, and over the last 5 years, they've definitely been trying to tap that keg.
That's a good way to put it. And you answered actually one of our audience questions, which was about, are there celebrity groups that a nonprofit organization can connect with in order to advance their mission forward in awareness and advocacy? So perhaps the
Yeah,
group that you just mentioned, or are there others?
yeah. There's many others, local and national. The Ruderman Family Foundation, based in California, is a big one that works with SAG-AFTRA, which is my
Ruderman,
union.
Ruderman, you said.
Ruderman, yes.
Mhm.
And I really find there's others that I can't mention. I don't remember. But Ruderman and IMPWD are two great movements that are happening in California that are making a very big splash in the industry. There's many agents and other entities that are around, but really I recommend finding your local groups wherever you are in this world. Find your local entities, your local awarenesses. Google is one of my best friends. I'm always Googling and researching individuals, and trying to understand where to go and what to impact. So I recommend, if you only have Facebook pages, they definitely are on social media. And so type in your area and then type in what you're looking for specifically for the industry, be it activism or awareness campaigns, and you will definitely find a long list of individuals.
Okay. A comment from someone in the audience a few years ago. I came up with 5 letters that I live by. WOWCP, short for workout with cerebral palsy. It means every day with CP is a workout, from getting up, going to bed. Everything we do in life is a workout. RJ, you are one of many that is the true meaning of that. So a very, very nice compliment. Can you talk about other
Thank you.
projects? You mentioned also that besides Triumph, that you have other projects come up. What else can people see?
Yeah, I got quite a few. I got quite a few, but I want to go back to that workout every day with CP statement. That is something that is a very true statement. People don't realize, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with this group here, but it's one of those things that we have to control it. We can't let it control you, and it's so important to incorporate your therapies in your everyday life, and that's something that I've done to help me maintain my health and my growth with my CP is utilizing my everyday life and utilizing the knowledge I've gotten through physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, and incorporating that and living by that. And that's something that we can't forget, and always try, whatever it is, if you're a physio or you're a therapist listening, learn how to adapt your patients to an everyday life where no matter what they're doing, if they're walking across a room or picking up something, that it is a cognitive thought and therapeutic in therapy, and that will help for individuals with disabilities that are listening or watching. That will change your life forever, is being able to adapt every day and use that therapy to grow in your system. Um, going to what I got a few movies coming out in the next year or so. Again, Triumph being one of those. Really pushing forward for that project. I have another one called The Unseen. I am actually in the middle of filming right now, which is a suspense thriller. And then I have another movie called Left Alone, which is another suspense thriller. But my character in that one has a disability, but he's also being chased by ghosts. And I have another one called Tribal, which is I actually got 4 horror movies that I'm doing right now. I don't know if anyone likes like suspense thrillers or horrors, but I'm working on 4 of those types of projects right now. Ironically, I didn't realize after I agreed to do 2 out of the 4, I realized they're the same story. So I'm pretty much doing 2 of the same movies at the same time, just separate projects.
Have you done comedies, and are comedies something you want to do?
I have done comedies. I've done a rom-com called Standing Up for Sunny. It was an Australian-based film. Had a great time doing that. And then I'm in the middle of creating and producing a comedy right now.
Tell us about that, please.
It is about a young comic working in California who's trying to make it and he's not. And he meets this guy who promises him everything and kind of lies to him. And so it's his journey on trying to find this comedic value. And then he starts this theater production, and people I guess it's also a suspense. I guess it's also a thriller. But anyways, it's a murder mystery series that he's on, and then people start dying, and it's a live theater, and so people think it's all part of the show, and so it's quite chaotic. But we're still in development on that. We are working on getting funding and moving forward, and I have a show called Guardians of Justice on Netflix at the moment. It's not quite appropriate for children, but if you're a 18 older nerdy anime likes history on comic book characters, it's all based in comic book characters, kind of like The Watchmen. I don't know if anyone's seen The Watchmen, but I'm very excited for all my projects that are coming out this year and really pushing forward. A lot of my time though goes into philanthropy and working with organizations like yourselves.
It sounds like you're really busy, but you read my mind. How do you balance all of your interests? And it's fantastic, your interest in advocacy and speaking out on all of these issues with what must be a very busy workload in terms of being in films and television.
It's quite hard to balance everything, luckily I have a great team of people that handle my schedules and are able to push things when need to get pushed. But I find just moving as slow as possible. When you start running around, you start double booking and getting compressed, and if you slow things down, you find the time.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I should mention before we go, we have just a few more minutes. You mentioned United Cerebral Palsy. You, of course, are an honorary board member for United Cerebral Palsy. We thank you for that. You do a lot of great work with the affiliates with regards to Triumph. We have a kind of collaboration that we've developed, and
yes.
We're promoting it as much as we can now. And when it comes out, we will definitely let the world know about it as well.
And actually, I see Michael Coffey in the comments. Hey, Michael. We really are trying to get this movie out as quickly as possible. And you will be the first to know when we have the ability to re-release it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much. And then a quick question about stage. Do you do stage work?
I do.
Theater.
I have done some stage work. Right before COVID, I actually had a full theater production that I was going to be a part of, and then COVID happened, and it never was able to grow and get back to it.
Mm-hmm. But really, your world. Go ahead.
And for the people asking about PWD, I am PWD. It's a tri-union campaign with SAG-AFTRA. So you look up SAG-AFTRA, and it stands for I Am a Performer with Disability. And there's still a small board and a small group of people a part of it, but it's through the Screen Actors Guild.
Here's a very a person, someone who needs personal advice. I'm a woman with CP. What advice do you have about dating?
I mean, put yourself out there. You know, dating is hard no matter what. Finding a partner, finding a relationship, just going out and having fun, you will find the right person that cares about you no matter what. But don't let whatever physically or views people place upon you in the dating scene, don't let that affect you. You know, you don't want to be with those people if they're trying to put a stigma on you, and those aren't people that you want your life, let alone be intimate with. And so just go out and have fun, live your life, and talk to people, find those people that you want to be with, that you want to date. And
we're frozen. Hopefully we'll come back here in just a moment. There. Sorry, you're back. Sorry, you froze for just a bit.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No, your fault. Hey, so I also want to make sure we get in mention of the Mitte Foundation that was mentioned in the introduction. What is the Mitte Foundation? What does the organization do? Please tell us.
So the Roy Frank and Joan Cole Mitte Foundation. My grandparents started this quite a few years ago. I am the board president of that organization now. We are a private family foundation focused on central and rural Texas. We provide a scholarship and grant program. So we have anywhere from 12 to 36 students on scholarships. And we focus on elder care, education, disability services, youth development, and aging. Right now, our granting is been closed because we are in the middle of a community development project in Brownsville, Texas. I'm working on developing a space and science center, an outdoor farmers market area for a 7-day-a-week farmers market, parking and food trucks, and working on right now developing a project that's kind of a part of it, but in downtown Brownsville on the revitalizing downtown Brownsville. We focus on direct impact programming. So organizations, nonprofits that directly impact individuals in their everyday life.
And so it's a foundation that's been around for quite a while then. Not new.
Yeah, I'd probably say close to early 90s. Yeah, early 90s.
Okay.
So it started in the early 90s. We built science centers and children's museums and libraries all over Texas, and supported Austin nonprofits for many years. We only in the last 4 years closed our grant program just because we have a very large project, multi-million-dollar project going on in Brownsville.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go to Michael Coffey's question. Michael is a producer and screenwriter, and as you mentioned, the story is definitely inspired by his own experience in high school, I think in West Texas, as I understand. His question is, do you miss wrestling training and workouts, the kind you had to do for Triumph?
I do a little bit. I definitely miss wrestling training. I don't know about workouts.
And did Michael have to participate with you during any of that training?
He didn't have to, but he did.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Go back just to the film for a moment to Triumph. How did it come together that you and Michael got together and it actually became a film project? I mean, what was sort of the germ of it?
I was working on another project, and one of the producers at the time reached out to me about it. Michael was very interested in me doing it, and it just so happened that I was actually working with one of the original producers at the time, and I was like, yeah, told me this story, and I was very interested in doing this and creating the project, and it just grew from there. And we shot it almost 7 years ago in Tennessee, and then we had some hiccups along the way, and so we put the movie on hold. And then luckily I was able to grab some of my producer friends and partners and revitalize the movie again, and brought it right back to life and finished it. And we're just now dotting the I's and crossing the T's to officially get it out. And it's been quite the journey. And it's one of those things that I realized a long time ago. I hate to say it, Michael, you're going to hear this, you might not like it, but for a minute I was willing to let this film die. And no one would have ever seen it. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't even know where to go anymore with it. And so luckily the film itself wanted to live. And it is a true testament of being triumphant and pushing that limit, and no matter what the obstacles were, pushing through, and it lived and it grew, and it's continuing to live and grow every day. And every day we're a little bit closer to getting it out to the general public, and making it so where people can see it and change the mindset that this film can change.
Fantastic, yeah. And I do also want to ask in terms of your future projects. For you, is there a character, a type of character that you want to play that you haven't played yet? You just sort of feel like this is something I need to add to my career roster.
I want more action films. That's what I'm trying to, more bigger stunts, more action. Because I'm a very physical individual. I like physical things and physical activities, and so I always thought doing an action movie with a bunch of stunts would be pretty amazing.
Is there a dream role for you out there? I mean, anything that you've seen?
There's not really a dream role. It's just more or less dream people. Really my dream of working in this industry is working with a great crew that gets things done, that has the ability to push forward and to push me to learn, to grow, and that family dynamic. And I was very lucky that I already experienced that once with Breaking Bad. So I'm just trying to find that next Breaking Bad.
By the way, are there people out there, I have to say, who kind of serve as career mentors for you, whether there's someone with a disability or not, people in the field that you just turn to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've grown up with over the years that were very big inspirations to me. Someone mentioned Jerry Joel earlier, and she was someone that really early on I got to meet and was very impressed by her. Marley Madeline, Danny Woodburn, and there's many others that are there. A lot of my mentors that I had growing up have passed away, and so it was kind of its own little learning experience to watch that. But I'm very lucky that I have a great team of people and people that love and care and want me to succeed. So.
Did you find yourself having to hunker down like most of America during the worst of the pandemic, and did it sort of put everything on hold for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, mostly just gained 30 pounds. But,
I call
but
it COVID-19. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the things when I was very young, I used to get hospitalized 6 months out of the year with pneumonia.
Oh.
From like 4 to 9, I almost died every year with pneumonia. Like hospitals, ventilators, small comas. The fun stuff. I always looked at myself as a child growing up. I always watched Balto. I don't know if you remember Balto, but it was about a dog who was bringing penicillin to all the kids in Alaska. So in growing up, I was like, oh, I'm one of those kids that Balto's coming. And so when it came to this pandemic and COVID, I did my best to protect myself, but at the same time, growing up, almost dying every year, I learned that I'm not going to live in a box. And did the vaccines and all the other things, and took preventative measures, and made sure I wore my masks when I needed to. And but as much as I did stay home and lock down at a desk, I really didn't let too much stop me.
Yeah. Here's a comment from the audience. So glad you did not let Triumph die. My son saw it in the short time that it was out in Austin, because there was an earlier short theater release. The film has changed him and us. Thank you for believing in the film.
Well, thank you. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. And it wasn't really up to me, but it was up to the people that love this film and really helped continue this story. And so anyone that saw it, I hope y'all enjoyed it. And we really believe in this film so much. So many people do. And it'll be out soon. We're working as hard as we can, and it takes time, but it's coming to market.
Yeah, we know everyone involved with the film is really, really enthusiastic and trying to get it out there and working hard, and we're looking forward to it as well. Here's another comment from the audience. You're an inspiration to a lot of young and old people. Can you share a story or a letter of an interaction that you had with a young person that you have inspired? We've got about another 90 seconds, so quickly on that.
Yeah. I do a lot of speaking at universities and different lecture halls, and from everything from economic impact to disability rights. And I think some of my favorite things is when I talk to people and they're like, it changed my perspective. Or when there was a time, I had this one, I've had it happen a couple of times where I've had a young person come to one of my lectures and hear me talk, and then after talking with him, he goes, my life was very different before I heard this. People assumed all these things. They saw me very differently, and listening to you, it changed that. And for me, that's one of the best opportunities that you get in my profession is that opportunity to change a life, to change a perspective, and to change a belief. And so many times we believe that we can't do something, or that there's this world that looms over us that is defining who we are versus us defining who we are. And so when I hear people saying that type of mentality changes them, it's really special to me.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so we're wrapping up. RJ, Mitte, thank you so much for the time that you have given to us today. Thank you for all the work that you're doing out there in the community, your advocacy, your work with UCP organizations, but certainly many other organizations here in the States and around the world. We want to mention that the UCP and the film's producers are collaborating on making sure that the world knows about this film when it comes out and in its domestic release, and that we hope that the film is a great success for your sake and for the sake of all the people who I think really need to see this film. So thank you.
And UCP, sorry, and UCP has back-end points, so go buy it.
Back-end points. Oh, okay. So for the audience that doesn't know the inside lingo, when there's a profit to be made on the film, UCP will get a small percentage of that, and we thank you so much for that. Thank you again. Thank you to the audience. Thank you, RJ. Really grateful. It was terrific to hear your life story and all the work you're doing. We're going to take a short break now, 15 minutes. We will be back at 25 after for our final panel. Thank you, RJ. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Have a great panel.